My rich uncle said he'd leave everything to whoever needed it least. So I became the only family member he couldn't buy. My uncle Dexter owned a chain of luxury car dealerships and never let anyone forget it. At every family gathering, he'd hand out envelopes with different amounts of cash inside, $50 for some cousins, $500 for others, just to watch us compare and compete. Money goes to those who appreciate it, he'd say, smirking as my cousin Melrose would thank him profusely for $100 while my brother got $20. The game was always the same. Whoever kissed his ass the hardest that month got the biggest envelope. My cousins tracked his moods like weather patterns, texting each other updates. Uncle Dexter seemed upset about mom's casserole, or he loved my new haircut, might be a good month. My Aunt Cordelia even changed her voting registration to match his political party after he mentioned it once at Thanksgiving. My cousin Brennan started watching the same cable news channel Dexter did, memorizing talking points to impress him at Sunday dinners. I stopped taking the envelopes when I was 19. Naomi, don't be rude, my mother hissed when I declined one Christmas. Uncle Dexter just stared at me, envelopes still extended, testing to see if I'd crack under the family's judgment. I'm working 2 jobs. I don't need guilt money, I said, not unkindly. The room went quiet. Nobody had ever refused him before. My cousins thought I was insane. Do you know how much tuition costs? Melrose demanded later. You can't afford pride. I can't afford the strings, I told her. While they spent weekends washing his cars and mowing his lawn for $200 checks, I worked double shifts at a diner and learned bookkeeping online. While they argued over who got to drive him to his doctor appointments, I was applying for scholarships and grants they didn't know existed. My mother kept pressuring me to apologize, to just take the money and be smart about this. But watching my cousins perform for him, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, pretending to care about his car collection, asking for his opinion on everything, made my skin crawl. Uncle Dexter started watching me at gatherings, not with anger, but with curiosity. Naomi, how's school? He'd ask pointedly. Good. Paid for another semester myself. He'd nod slowly, like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. The more I refused to play his game, the more interesting he found me. My cousin's desperation had become white noise to him, but my absence was deafening. At his 70th birthday, he pulled me aside. You know I respect hard work, he said. I'm sure you do, I replied, not taking the bait. You're the only one who never asks me for anything. That's because I don't want anything from you. He laughed, genuinely laughed. You're the only honest one in this family. 2 years later, he had a massive stroke. The family gathered like vultures circling fresh prey. Melrose scheduled bedside shifts and documented every visit like evidence for court. Brennan brought newspapers and read him financial updates daily, making sure nurses saw his dedication. I visited once because my mother begged me to. Uncle Dexter couldn't speak, but he squeezed my hand tightly when I said, I'm sorry this happened to you. He died 3 days later. The will reading was a war zone. My cousin—
You can now check part 2 by pressing share then more.